The Calgary real estate market has finally halted in a few areas, but where are the biggest decreases? I'm going to go over the October report that was just released yesterday. If you want to read the full report on your own, please click the link in the description. Make sure to watch my how to read the stats video to get a full explanation of what this report is all about and how to actually read it on your own. Comment your community in the comments below and I will provide you with your very own community stats report for this previous month. Hello, my name's Fyfe, your Calgary Realtor. If you're planning on making a move or if you have any questions about the housing market here in Calgary, click the link and book a call. It's the first link in the description. So let's get into it. I'm going to read this description in its entirety. If you would rather read it on your own, that's totally fine. Pause the video, read it, and move along to the next chapter. Demand shifting to more affordable options. Strong sales for condominium apartments and row properties was not enough to offset declines reported for other property types. This caused city sales to ease by nearly 12% compared to last year's levels. However, with the 1,900 sales in September, activity is still far stronger than levels achieved prior to the pandemic and is well above long-term trends for September. Despite recent pullbacks in sales and thanks to strong levels earlier in the year-to-date sales remain 15% higher than last year's levels. While demand is easing, especially for higher price point detached and semi-detached products, purchasers are still active in the affordable segment of the market, cushioning much of the impact on sales. At the same time, we are seeing new listings ease, preventing the market from becoming oversupplied and supporting more balanced conditions. In September, new listings declined by 10%. With a sales to new listing ratio of 72%, it was enough to prevent any gain in the inventory levels, which declined over last month and were nearly 21% lower than last year's levels. The adjustments in both sales and supply levels have caused the months of supply to remain relatively low at less than 3 months. The shift to more balanced condition is causing some adjustments to home prices. While prices have slid from the high seen in May, as of September, benchmark price is remaining 11% higher than last year's levels and 6% higher than levels reported at the beginning of the year. So let's start this off by looking at the total residential prices for all of Calgary. Now, this is only a snapshot of the city. We need to break it down into quadrants and communities to get a full picture of what's happening in your area of interest. So, from a quick glance, you can see that the total residential prices are up almost 11% year over year, still down from the 15% that we were seeing earlier in the summer months. Now, that's total residential, so all property types morphed into one stat. You can see that each property type is still in the double-digit price growth year over year. But with that being said, I'm more interested in what's happening month over month, but we'll get into that in a second. Next, let's take a peek at total sales, new listings, inventory, and months of supply. You can see that sales are down compared to last September. New listings have fallen since last September. Inventory is amazingly staying fairly steady, and months of supply is relatively close to the same from the previous 2 months. Next, here's the total sales and inventory in all of Calgary. Now, these graphs include all property types across the whole city. They are fairly useful when looking back at previous years and trying to figure out where we stand historically, but I'm more interested in what's happened month over month. But before we can do that, let's just quickly see that even with the market slowing down, the number of sales is still relatively strong compared to previous years, and inventory is still pretty low. I have been working with quite a few buyers lately, and when you look at just how fast how many homes are going pending within the first week, it is fairly evident to me that the market is still fairly hot. I personally believe this to be people still have a lot of those lower interest rates being held by banks and brokers, and they want to purchase a home before the rate continues to go up. So I'm fairly confident that we will still see the market move fairly quickly until January. And then from there, I would expect the numbers to completely drop off and you'll start to see some of those negative numbers. This next map showcases the total residential prices for every quadrant in Calgary, so all property types in that quadrant combined into one stat. You can see that the northeast and southeast have seen the biggest increases in price with 15% year over year, whereas the city center, while still seeing a 5.3% increase, is the lowest in all quadrants. And at the same time, I do like pointing this out, but when you look at the price differences between Calgary East and Calgary West, you can see that there is a $308,000 difference. Okay, so let's start to paint a picture of what's actually happening here month over month. Again, this is total residential. Make sure to watch my individual property type videos, which will be released once a day, every day after this video goes live. This snapshot here is every month stats from January to October, both this year and last. First, we can see that the month of September is the 4th month in a row to see a decline in the the benchmark price, even though year over year is still up by over $50,000 compared to September of last year. We are now hovering between February and March prices for total residential. Remember, every property type will have a different story. You can see overall sales have declined, new listings have declined, and inventory has also declined. Everything is slowing down together, which is great to see. If sales were falling as new listings and inventory were climbing, we would see a much bigger decrease in prices, as there would be a lot more options for buyers. Days on market is inching closer to being the highest it's been all year, and sales were the lowest amount in all of 2022. Yes, prices are falling, and the market is slowing down, but I would argue that Calgary is handling the slowdown pretty good. Again, we need to break it down into the individual property types to get the full picture of your personal situation. Moving along, we're going to start to break down the numbers. Here's a graph that visualizes which property types in each quadrant are currently in demand and which are not. Now, months of supply is an equation put together which indicates how long it would take each property type to sell out all its product in a given area based on current buyer demand and listing activity in that area. So, if you see 1 month of supply, that means it is relatively hot, whereas 4 months of supply means it's relatively slow. Now, each color represents each quadrant, where the black bar is the total residential average for that property type. Now, from a quick glance, I can tell you that townhouses are in the most demand, whereas apartments have really lost steam since last month's report. Now, in most areas, you can see that the average is about 2 months of supply, which tells me that the seller still has somewhat of the advantage in this scenario. But it is quickly turning into a more balanced market in most areas, as you can see here. The affordable products in Calgary that are priced between $250,000 and $400,000 is still very much in demand, especially if it's good marketing, priced well, and in a good area. Now, like usual, I'm not going to read this out, but if you are interested in a certain property type, pause the video and read what the Calgary Real Estate Board has to say about each. It's important to get all the data before making any large real estate decision. Both buyers and sellers should utilize this data to their advantage. Finally, the microeconomic outlook for each property type in each quadrant. Now, I'm going to break this down in a lot more detail in more videos that are going to be released this week, so keep an eye out for that. A couple things to note here. The largest increases in price we saw this past month were detached homes in the northwest, apartments in the south and southeast, and townhouses in the city center. The biggest decreases we saw in the past month were detached homes in the city center, semi-detached homes in the city center, and townhouses in the southeast. Year over year, we're still seeing close to 20% increase in some areas. Apartments in the north and southeast, semi-detached homes in north, and townhouses in northeast, north, and southeast. Although, again, things are slowing down as a whole, there is still a lot of movement in this market. So make sure to prepare yourself in advance. Is still very much important. Take the time, do the research, and find an advisor that you can trust. If you have any questions, please text me or go ahead and book a time in my calendar link below. I really do hope that you got some value from this update. Make sure to browse my channel for other relatable content. I plan on bringing you a lot more information from industry professionals in the coming months, so strap in. So until next time, peace.